This podcast may contain views and opinions which are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any local agency, organization, union, employee, or company, including the podcast.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Off the Clock Shop Talk. Obviously, we got an empty chair here, or no chair here. George is off doing George things. I don't know where he's at, but just welcome to the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate, everything every week. It seems to me watching the views keep coming up and up. So keep sharing, like, subscribe, all that stuff that helps us spread the word. Obviously, we're here for you guys to give you guys information, to get you guys more involved, all that stuff. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for this week. Big guest. Last week, obviously, we had Mark Davison. This week, we got Big Vic Mineros.
Thanks,
welcome,
guys.
Vic.
Thanks. Welcome, John. I don't know about big, maybe in size. I'm 6'5", so I'll take it as the Big Vic in physical size.
I don't know if you have as many titles as Mark, but you're up there, bro.
No. I'm still the shovel guy. No matter what titles I get, I'll always be the shovel guy.
There you go. I mean, you never forget where you came from, right?
That's exactly. Not forgetting where I came from, and it's like I tell the staff at 396 is, look, I will never ask you to do something that I will not do 10 times over. And I firmly believe that.
But we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate, all the support.
Thanks for having me.
We've been getting a lot of support from just other locals and whatnot. And we like to tell everybody, we mentioned it a lot last week, but this isn't a 952 show. Obviously, we, at the beginning, we kind of, we're 952 guys. But that being said, Vic is from 396. Mark's from 162. This is a Teamster show. We want to get you guys involved and excited about what's going on. I would say the new direction, and this is just coming from me,
right.
The new direction of the Teamsters and getting our recognition back. We love where it's going. But that being said, let's jump into it, right? Vic.
Right.
Big Vic. Who are you? Where did you come from? What barn did you come out of? How long have you been a Teamster? All those things. Let's start there.
Well, we're not going to say how long because I don't want to start aging myself. But no, I'm
you
kidding.
Gotta say, bro.
I do. I'm kidding, John. But in all reality, I started in 1996 at San Gabe in Baldwin Park.
Right before the strike.
Right before the strike, a year. I had a year seniority. Right before the strike. So yeah, I partook in that strike. I was young. I was 18 years old. I was, excited. I don't have generations of Teamsters in my blood, but I knew being a Teamster was the thing. I knew exactly was when I walked in, and I was a little troubled youth. I will call it that.
I think we all were.
Troubled
That's
youth.
why we ended up at UPS.
Exactly.
And we've talked about that in other shows,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, so I was a troubled youth, and I remember Bill Huff. I had problems with one of the managers there, one of the full-time leads, and I had problems there. And I see Bill Huff walking by. He was the feeder agent, who one of my mentors, and he had walked by, and I had seen the Teamster jacket, and one of the drivers knew I was in trouble, and he goes, Bill's here. Why don't you go talk to Bill? So Bill was a feeder agent. I run up to Bill, and I said, hey, this manager just told me that he's putting me at door 13, which was the last door right before the exit.
Yeah.
So he said, he's putting you at door 13. I'm putting you at door 13 because your next step is out. So I ran up to Bill, and I was like, hey, Bill, nice to meet you. I'm a young kid.
Yeah.
So I go, nice to meet you. I just wanted to, they're calling me into the office right now. And they, this manager's been messing with me. He told me he's going to put me at door 13 because my next step is out. He goes, is that what he told you, kid? Bill was a heavy smoker, bald, and
Old-time Teamster.
Old-time Teamster. He was just like, is that what he told you, kid? And I was like, yes, sir. Yes, that's what he told me. He goes, all right, we're going in there. And I was like, okay, well, what does this mean? We're going in there. So they take me in. Bill grabs the manager, and he goes, we're going into the office. So I'm in there. I just thought, I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to get, prosecuted here. And Bill's going to have
Prosecuted or persecuted?
Prosecuted, and that's a different story.
Right.
I'm going to be persecuted in here. I'm going to get, just hammered. And So Bill's just staying quiet. The manager saying, this kid is his problems. He's too loud. He's just, the rest of the workforce, he's keeping them from working, and he's just a troublemaker. And Bill just literally very calmly, he goes, I just have one question. Did you tell him you're putting him on door 13 because his next step is out? Yes, Bill. I don't know what else to do with him. And he goes, if you ever talk to one of my members like that, I will have my foot up your ass so fucking far. I was like, oh my God.
Like me, when we went in our first meeting, I didn't know you could say that.
So, Bill was a mentor for a lot of the young guys in our local, like David Lopez, Dave Enriquez. Bill mentored a lot of our guys. He was a legend. He was a feeder driver, and Bill's just.
And you're sure he's cool with us using his name? Because we could bleep that out too.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Bill. Yeah, rest in peace. So he's gone and passed. He was the president for a while of the local union. Then he was the executive director there at the local. And then, he retired and passed. But
So at that point, were you like, wow, this is something that I want to associate myself with as coming into something that's new? You didn't come from a Teamster family, like you said, but it was something like you were like, wow, this is something I want to get behind, because you felt protected at that moment.
You're exactly right. I felt protected. I felt like, wow, you could talk shit to management. This is it.
Everybody has their own spark. Everybody
and exactly
kicks it off.
I don't have the honor, like, a lot of the Teamsters, calling generational Teamsters. But it all starts somewhere.
Exactly.
So, Bill was a mentor. It's just like, wow, you defend workers. And then I just started getting involved, and then, I had a couple of trouble. I was fired from UPS a couple of times.
Yeah, that happens.
We
all have fired stories except Sawas. I don't know what.
That was another show, but yeah, it's. I think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, Vic. It's for you. It was having to deal with a supervisor that messed with you, that got you engaged and involved,
right?
And you went to somebody, and they said, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of this." And I think for you at that point, you were like, you know what? This is something I want to stand behind. And for me, that's what it was too. And going back to what you were saying, John, the first time we sat in a meeting when John came in as a steward, right, we had a meeting, and it was with your favorite
my
manager.
favorite manager. You know who he is.
Yeah. And
I'll cut this part out, but fucking
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we walked in there, and we had a conversation. We came out, and John said, I didn't realize that you could talk to management that way. And I was like, funny. Absolutely, because at that time, as a steward, you are equal to that manager or that supervisor. So absolutely, that's a turning point. When I think for me, and maybe for you, was when you get messed with, you either get involved or you tuck your tail or whatever.
Hey, we got a lot of that too.
Yeah,
right. and it's no knock on people. I think people are unaware,
exactly,
right, of the protection they have through the Teamsters, of the backing they have at times. We have a lot of uninformed members, right, even for those that really attempt to inform their members and involve their members. Right. You're still not going to reach everybody, and not everyone's going to be at that same place, that same level where they feel comfortable, like filing a grievance. Right. I got a lot of people at this point still that are like, I don't want to cause waves. And I'm like, no, you're protected.
Right.
These are your rights.
Right.
Through the contract, through what the Teamsters have done. These are your rights. And a lot of that sometimes gets lost or just isn't.
To that point, John, it's almost like a society thing. Society, you teach yourself, or society is taught to our youth as the manager roles, the supervisor roles are like huge things. Yeah. It's just, I get it. We're in two different roles, and that's some of the stuff that I've done in organizing, is teaching these guys how to organize a union and tell them, like, their corporations or managers will never they won't do business without a contract. Yeah. They won't go into saying, like in the trash industry, they're not going to pick up a city without a contract. Yeah. They just don't want the workers to have a contract. They want to treat them I use this in inoculation trainings that we do, is they want to have the parent-child relationship. You listen to me, and you have
I tell
no
you
voice.
how to act.
I tell you how to act, and you only
What to
exist
do.
because of me.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Right.
So
right.
before we jump into the organizing, so first year, right, you come in and you have this experience. What were you doing at the time? Were you loading, unloading?
I
What
was
were you
an
doing?
unloader at San Gabe. It
Okay.
was the preload or sunrise, or is what they called it back in the days.
And then where did you go from there?
So I went from there. I became a air driver. Years after, I became an air driver.
So you went straight from unloading to air driver. How
To air
long
driving.
did you unload?
Well, I used to do both. It was just kind of the Saturday driving.
Oh,
what
yeah,
they call
yeah.
it, right?
I
Back in those days, it
definitely
was
did that
Saturday
for
driving.
sure.
So I did the Saturday driving, and then I became a cover driver. So then thereafter, I became right before I became a driver, I had an incident with management, and I lost my job.
And that was after the strike, right?
Yes. This is way after the strike.
Okay.
So not to go off on too much of a tangent, but a first year employee or a 1 year employee, what was the strike like for you?
As a kid, as an 18-year-old kid, full of piss and vinegar, it was interesting. To me, it was just like, holy shit, we're on the strike line. Let's go. Like, I mean, you read stories, you hear stories, the old Jimmy Hoffa stories, and it's finally felt like, well, this is real. I'm living it. It's just like I'm in the moment. It's just what, strike line. And
I want to blow up a car.
Yeah, it was all of that, and it's just seeing the older guys. It's just and just seeing the movement of workers, where it's just like we're
Labor
sticking-
power, right?
labor power, and that resonated. It's literally sits in my head. Just sitting, I remember sitting in the curb across the street by Kaiser, and just literally looking, going, "Holy shit! I'm in a strike. I'm 19 years old or 18 years old, whatever it was. I'm in a strike. It's." Fuck yeah, let's go. Fuck them.
Yeah, fucking A, dude. So you go, you're a cover driver. How long were you before you became a shop steward?
So I became a shop steward when I was a part-timer. Shortly after, I ran for shop steward. I wasn't taking it serious. I just said, I threw my name in the hat.
Yeah.
And then I won. I was like, oh shit, what do I do now?
They probably voted you in because you were a big guy. But
Probably,
I know, they're like, this guy can fuck up, man.
But I've always had a voice at the workplace. It's just my personality. And, it's funny because my mom's always said, I've told you all your life, stop fighting, stop fighting, stop fighting.
And then you join an organization that we're all about fighting.
Yeah. We're all about fighting, exactly. Who would have thunk it?
Fighting for the little guy, right? Fighting for the
Fighting
workers.
for the little guy is so
yeah,
right.
fighting for the workers.
Right. And so, it's just, I've always hated bullies.
Me too, dude.
Yeah, bullies, I've seen kids get bullied, and it's just like, I've always hated them. And I see the management like that who can be bully, and, they'll take advantage of a guy who doesn't have a voice, who doesn't protect himself.
Yeah, who's uninformed of his rights, all those things. And that's one thing that, I will give, and I've said it 1,000 times at this point, right? But it's one thing I will give, Eric Jimenez credit for, is that he really started informing the members and had a goal to change the culture. And I jumped on fucking board, dude. I mean, I'm all about it. Like, I want to get these guys informed to where they understand their rights. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit there and let management pick on you and bully you. And the same thing, dude. I fucking grew up, and I'm a fairly big guy. Like,
Not
almost,
as big as Vic. But.
No, not at all. But people, would almost look at me like, oh, you could be a bully. You know what I mean? But I hated watching people get bullied. Like, I didn't like it.
And it's just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A supervisor or a manager, all they're not better than us. They're not they just have a different role in the workplace. Yeah. But they don't like being told that, because they think it's a power trip more. It's like, well, this is the stuff that you have to do.
And we can cut it out, but I'll say it right now. Fuck.
Exactly. No, but it's just literally, they're just in a different function. They're no better than anybody else.
Not at all.
And in any workplace, in any home, like anybody who partakes into the business or the family, you can't operate without all pulling together.
And we talked about it a little bit last week, but we have the numbers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Who is management without our labor?
True.
You know, who
You're
are
absolutely
they?
right.
They're nobody.
You're absolutely
who
right.
are you gonna tell to do what if we withhold our labor?
Exactly.
And like I said, going back to what Eric's done in the local, and we try not to talk shit here. We really do. But as a younger member, I was uninformed, and I don't feel like the administration that was there at the time
Right.
really cared that I was informed.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he's done a lot to put Salas in the place he's in. As a business agent for the part-timers, and obviously he does feeder too, but giving them a voice, and that's a big push, right? For Sean O'Brien, right? And just kind of giving those people a voice and making sure they're heard. I mean, I've actually, believe it or not, I've heard management say like, I think the part-timers have been shortchanged for a long time.
And it's funny because the part-timers, it's, whatever they had to do to, at that time, wrong or right.
Yeah.
But the part-timers, I was taught a term coming into this organization or coming into union work. It was they always screwed the unborn. The unborn is like, that was easy because the unborn is just like, well, they're not here. No, but the unborn is a term that is used where you screw the guy coming in behind the actual people who are there right now. So it's screwing the unborn.
Honestly, I could even take that a little further, that term unborn, and it's people that are uninformed, right? They might not know, they might not have seen that light, like they're born into, knowing their rights and knowing,
walking in and, they're getting something less.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
and
getting
I don't know if I've told it, but my son worked for UPS for a little while. And, at the time, I'm not going to say where or whatever, but he didn't know what was going on. And, I would be talking to him, and there was a point where, he was there for, 5 or 6 months, and he was getting worked from 9 to 12 hours a day with 1 15-minute break a day.
Wow.
And just didn't know.
Right.
Just didn't know. And we ended up remedying the situation, but these guys take advantage of,
Absolutely.
like you said, the unborn, right?
Yeah,
they just, guys come in and they don't know any better.
Right.
And they almost, like you said, they have that mentality where these guys are an authority. They're looking out for my best interest.
Right.
And I get a lot of that even still, believe it or not, with some older drivers in the wrong culture can still feel like, management is there to look out for me. And at the end of the day, I tell these guys, like, dude, management's there for themselves. They have, even if they're cool managers or whatever, quote unquote, they have somebody to answer to, and they have numbers to answer to. And at the end of the day, you're just a number. They don't care about you, So I had to go through that with my son a little bit, and he ended up leaving. He's going to go to college and all that stuff, right? But just his experience there, he kind of saw it firsthand of what laborers go through on honestly on a daily basis, where we're getting fucked with, and where they're messing with us, and management is just, they don't care about you.
They really don't.
They have
They really don't.
somebody to answer to, and at this point it's the stockholders, right? At the top level, the stockholders, and they want their money.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't care if you ever sleep. They want robots. You know what I mean? And like you said, just them messing with the unborn, it's a sad thing. And it's something, like I said, that Eric has really begun to change. It's not something that's going to change overnight. And it's something that, I've jumped on board fully with and tried to, and I've actually gave you props on the last show. I don't know if you know, but I gave you props about the Teamster Tuesday thing, right? And getting these guys involved and informed, and
Thank you.
we talked about it. The first one that I had, the first Teamster Tuesday, I got excited, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I had like maybe 20 guys show up, and I'm like, where the fuck is everybody else at? You know what I mean?
You got to start somewhere. But,
I did give you a lot of credit for that, and I like the vision. I definitely like where we're going as 952 under Eric's leadership and this administration, and the Teamsters as a whole. We had Mark on last week under, we're kind of all becoming more uniform and getting more militant. And with Sean, like what his favorite saying, right? It's a full contact sport. Buckle your fucking chin strap, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it is what it is. So,
hey, John, let's circle back a little bit and come back to where you became a shop steward.
Yeah.
And then from a shop steward to where you're at now, can you kind of lead us up to where you're at now? Because obviously
we won't go over your titles just yet, but how did you get to where you're at?
So I became a shop steward. I was a shop steward in the part-time ranks. And then right before I became a full-time driver, I had gotten terminated once again. You know, we won't go into the details.
I'm telling you, we all have the stories except Sawas. It's weird.
Well, I don't know. It's just I was being attacked. Like kept my fit with their so
yeah, it happens.
It happened. So I had gotten fired. My wife was pregnant at the time. Literally, I had to come home, and I had insurance for the next 4 days, and I was like, hey, I got fired, and I don't have a job. So I got my job back, at the time I got my job back, and I started thinking. I was just like thinking of all the stuff, and just literally I was just
You're talking about like the benefits that you.
The benefits were just the power, the voice.
Yeah,
Sabas, the voice of organized labor. And I started really reflecting, and I was just like, why I want to get involved a lot more, not just when I'm in trouble. Like, how do workers not have this right? How do workers? We're in America. This is a right in this country. How do workers get convinced that they don't need this? Yeah. They don't need a collective bargaining. They don't have to take this. Yeah. They can one-on-one deal with their supervisor or their boss. It's just like, why are we not organizing in bigger masses? Like, how come the union numbers are dropping? So I started getting involved. I became a steward in the package ranks. And I would be going to meetings all the time. Did
you have to run another election to get elected as a?
At the time, we had a longtime steward who retired at the time. So they posted up that we were having steward elections. I was a young driver. There was drivers back then. It was a high seniority in the ranks, and I had Paul Ochoa, who was another steward, and he comes up to me and he was just like, "Hey, you should run. We want to bring in the youth." And I said, let's do it. So I put my name. Nobody else ran. I had.
Wow.
So, yeah. So
you got a white ballot.
A white ballot as a steward.
And so this brother Paul, he brought you in and groomed you, right?
Groomed me. Yeah. Yes, Paul. I call him Viejo now. He's retired. But, Paul groomed me, taught me just, and I would just go to every general membership meetings. I was excited about it. I would just, want to be informed. And I couldn't wait to go back and talk to my union brothers and sisters. And then I started getting involved. The local union was in doing organizing drives or organizing trainings. And I said, well, here we go. I want to get involved. And so I started doing organizing trainings. I started volunteering on the weekends to go, hit organizing drives.
You invested in yourself, as I always like to say.
And then when you did that, at some point, did you end up being pulled out to become an organizer?
I started organizing in the solid waste industry.
Okay.
So one of my big mentors and a good friend of mine still to this day, even though my son says they're better friends, is Chuck Stiles. He's the director of the solid waste division. So Chuck Stiles started teaching me how to organize. He's, to me, by far the best organizer I know. He's taught me how to organize, how to knock on doors, how to engage workers, how to, and those are the trades I learned from. So I met Chuck Stiles on an organizing blitz or organizing training first, and then he involved me in a blitz. And so he just showed me. Chuck Stiles from Local 728. He is also the solid waste division director. We just kicked it off. He's a Southern boy from Georgia, heavy accent. I love the guy to death. We talk every day. Him and my son talk every day.
That's cool, man.
So he taught me how to organize, and so we just kicked it off, and I just started getting more involved, and then an opportunity came. And
let me ask you, Vic. So when you were a package car driver,
mm-hmm.
Did you leave and get pulled out to become an organizer and then take a pay cut?
So that's what I was going to get to.
Because I know that organizing when you, and to me, the reason why I say that is because it takes a lot of heart to give up some monetary compensation to become an organizer. And I believe you take a pay cut, right?
Yeah, we did. So they would pull me out at the time, on just organize. I would, wouldn't get paid my pension contributions, which was fine. I knew what I was signing up for.
Right.
But it was okay. So then an opportunity, to your point, Sabas, an opportunity came up, and they offered me a job to work as an international organizer at the IBT. Wow. So I said,
and how old were you at this time?
Oh, my God.
Maybe?
Yeah, in my 20s. I was in my 20s. I can't remember exactly. So I was honored, privileged. I was like, who can turn this down?
Right.
But I had to go home and tell my wife.
They were taking a pay cut.
I'm going to be traveling a lot.
So, and I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to be on 10-4s. At that time, they used to call them 10-4s. You would be on the road 10 and home 4, and it just worked like that. And with young kids, it's a big thing to think about. But I was honored and privileged, and I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And she was like, well, you'd be making the same as a driver, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, about that. So I took a job in the organizing department as an IBT field organizer at the time. The last time I was in a truck, because I worked a lot of hours. I just enjoyed working. I loved what I did. And what I do now even more is I took a job. They offered me $49,000 when I started. And the last time I was in a truck, I made $104,000. So it was less than a 50%. So I've never lived above my means. I've always, so I look back, and I talked to my wife, and I was like, well, what do you think? And she was like, well, why are you asking me? You think I'm going to stop you?
Well, what a great woman to back you and support you in that
till
way.
This day, yes.
This day, because it's a way of life, and this is what I try to tell our brothers and sisters.
Well, we talked about a little bit on last week's show with Mark.
Organizing, a business agent, and up and up and up. It's a way of life. It's not. We don't do it for the money, obviously, right? Because
it's a movement.
It's a movement. In package and feeder, there's opportunities to maybe make more money. But when you're passionate about something, it's not about the money. You come in and you do things because you want to help the membership. You want to help your brothers and sisters.
It's not work.
It's not work.
Yeah.
Right.
It is. It's really a way of life, and sometimes it's a sacrifice. It's for the greater good. It's a greater cause, bigger than yourself, even. You know what I mean? And we love it. That's why we, honestly, in my opinion, when you get really involved, even as a steward, you're giving up time, time with your family, some money. You don't get paid as you don't get paid as a steward, right?
Yeah,
so you're just you learn that young. If you really want to be involved and you want to, make a difference, it's not about the money. It really isn't. At the end of the day, it's about organized labor and about the members. Mm-hmm. And, at first it starts with your brothers and sisters in your classification or in your
bid area.
Yeah. So, it just really is a way of life. So like Sawas was saying, back to you become a steward, you're organizing. What's next?
So I said, well, let's give it a try. So I started, most of my organizing I've done is in the solid waste industry. I, teamed up with Chuck Stiles, and we ran with it. I was just, so then I started doing
Real
barns.
Quick, I don't know if you can make a call, but they didn't pick up my trash this week. I don't know what's going on.
So how many?
That's probably the non-union section of your area.
How many years did you do organize before you came back?
So I organized for almost 5 years. I was a IBT organizer, and then at that time, they had said they were going to either bring me on or they had to let me go, whatever the system, how they ran it at the time. And then my principal officer at the time, I kind of was just like, hey, I can't, my kids were growing up. It was just like I had to do more home stuff.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'll bring you on. And that's where he brought me on as a full-time organizer at the local union.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
So you went from the IBT back into your local in 396 and became an organizer.
Full-time organizer
So
there.
with that, taking on that position, you were a little more available for your family, more local stuff.
Right. I still worked every day.
Yeah, of
Almost
course.
as every organizer does, especially the home organizers or their local organizers. You're just always on the clock. We have, you're doing house calls on the weekends. It's when the workers you're organizing are at home, and that's when you're going to get the best door knocks, and so you're just constantly working.
Nice.
For instance, in 2009, we had an organizing drive here in Anaheim with one of the yards you guys represent too. We share with Local 952. So we organize sorters who literally sort trash.
Oh, wow.
It's funny because we did an action, and Gavin Newsom at the time, I think he was the lieutenant governor, and he was here at the CLC in Orange County. We brought workers for him to meet, and he was just like, sorters in the trash industry, what is that? He was under the impression that machines sort all the trash. So we had a group of women, majority women, who literally picked through your trash. Wow. They're on belts, conveyor belts. Granted, they have gloves. But at that time, these workers literally stood up. I'll never forget this one lady, Abuela. We used to call her Abuela, she was in her 80s. She was one of the sorters.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, in her 80s. She's great. She, she would still to this day would invite me to dinner to her house.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, on that organizing drive, these workers weren't doing it just for the wages. You think about stuff, most of the workers, wages are important because that's what you sustain your family with. That's what you feed your kids with. But these workers were just literally doing it for respect. During that organizing drive, Abuela got pulled in by the supervisors under the direction of the union busters. And he literally the supervisor told her, well, you're going to vote no for the union. And why are you going to vote yes? And, we're the ones who pay you. And she goes, I remember, like, it knots me up in my stomach with anger and honor. But she literally stood up and told them, she goes, do you remember when I asked you to take me out of under the belt because the rocks were hitting my head? The rocks were hitting my shoulder. Wow. Do you remember when I asked you that I needed an extra break because I was sweating? It was too bad. No, yes, I am voting for the union. It's my turn. Now it's my voice. Those stories there are those are the stuff that move you as in this business. It's just like, just even the other story. I can go on and on with these stories, but these are the stuff that this is the stuff that moves you. It's just, I remember in that organizing drive, one of the ladies, she goes, they're calling us into these union busting meetings. We call them captive audience meetings is the right term for it. And she was like, wow, we're not going to go in. And I go, look, you got to go in because they're calling them safety meetings. So she goes, well, what do we do if they give us all this information? And I go, well, listen. Yeah. And she goes, well, I don't want to be in there. I'm not going to listen to their lies. I don't want to be in there. So I said, fine. I go, look, you have to be in there, but you don't have to listen if you don't want to listen. Yeah. So she took that and grabbed the group of workers and literally stood up to these union busters, these top firm. And she goes, look, we have to be in here because you got to make us be in here, but we don't have to listen to you. She told everybody to stand up, turn their chairs, and gave them their back.
Wow. Really?
Wow. That right there is fucking worker power.
Yeah, it is.
For real.
That's awesome.
That is so awesome.
It's a great story.
Just literally listening to that, and you look at these big union busting firms, and they fly people out in private jets, and so they look at that and they're like, "Holy shit!" We've
lost the workers.
We've lost the workers. Right. Their manager used to walk around with his lab and would tell the workers, "You can't touch my dog." Like it was like in a training camp. Like this, it's just like in today's society, are we really living that? Especially in Orange County, one of the richest counties in this country, if not the richest.
And I think we all, in this job, we talked about pay cuts and all that stuff, right? But I think those moments where we see people stand up and maybe stand up to a manager or just stand up and have that worker power and take that back, right. You know what I mean, from the company. Those are the moments that make it all worth it. For me, you know what I mean? When I see, someone getting harassed like crazy and we do what we need to do,
Right.
and we file grievances, and I'll go in there and yell at managers or whatever. Those are what make it worth it for me.
Oh, absolutely. Just and workers have to understand. Obviously, yes, our goal is to have a collective bargaining agreement. That is our goal, and that's what we're gonna strive to. But workers can't. I mean, workers can do so much without just even having the collective bargaining agreement. Just I was on my way over here. A local union in Texas is asking for help and for door knockers, so we're going to send some staff out there to assist them in a waste campaign. But he talking to the organizer from that local union, he's telling me like they've been in an ice storm for the last 3 days.
Wow.
So they've shut down, obviously, and they shut down. And historically, it's an act of God. They don't have to pay you. And so he's telling me all of this, and I'm like thinking like, wow, look at this. So this company this waste company who normally never pays them because it's an act of God. They don't have to pay them. Yeah. Literally paid them the last 3 days of the shutdown. And I told this organizer, I said, listen to this. You got to tell the workers already. Look what they're gaining without a contract already. The company's going to try to tell them, hey, we're giving you this because we're the nice guys. Yeah. It's bullshit. They're not the nice guys. They're giving you this because they formed a union already. They built a voice in their workplace. Just look at this. You build a voice in your workplace. You made this corporation.
The employer sees the worker power, right?
The employer, right. And they want to say like, oh, no, we want to do the right thing. Bullshit. Yeah. It's not about doing the right thing. It's just like, hey, they want to try to take credit.
And I'll round that out since, we're in the UPS contract season, right?
Right.
I'll kind of round that out and say, that's why we tell you guys to get involved. That's why we tell you guys when we have functions and when we have, the Teamster Tuesdays and Teamster Thursdays. Right. And when we have these things, that's why we tell you to get involved, because companies watch. They're paying attention.
They are paying attention.
Are the workers really united?
Right.
Right. And when they see that worker power, at the end of the day, it makes them move. And it's not out of, we love our employees, because at the end of the day, UPS is fighting us for every nickel and dime when they made $13.1 billion this year in profits.
Right.
And we're not talking about operating profits. We're talking about actual dollars. They made $13.1 billion.
They made that money, and we delivered the goods.
Yeah.
Off our backs.
Off of our backs, exactly.
Absolutely.
So, it's just, it goes to show you that companies pay attention to that shit. Workers, you guys, UPS employees, everybody, the Teamsters cover. And the list goes on and on, right? But companies pay attention to that shit, and you guys need to get involved. That's part of it, right?
Get involved. Is a lot of members. It's funny just talking to them and coming up through the ranks, and it's just they literally. I hate the term, and I try to educate around it. Is I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get involved. Well,
I don't want to make waves.
I go, yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be on the radar.
Yeah, heard that too.
But seriously, think about it. You don't want to pay your car insurance every month, but you have to pay your car insurance every month. But there's a security. If you hit somebody or somebody hits you, you have somebody to speak up. You pay it reluctantly. So get involved. This is your right. Yeah. This collective bargaining agreement, they call it management has a tendency, and I say this a lot on the floor. It was like, well, the union contract, and I'll tell management, it was just like, look, it's a 2-party agreement. The company signs off on it, and lower level managers they'll try to interpret the agreement and dislike it. And I always tell them, I go, well, next time they sign an agreement, maybe they should ask you for your opinion. Till then,
I'm going to use that one.
As you should. Please do.
I'm going to use that one.
What's funny is that I don't think that they understand, honestly, that, those tiers of management,
right?
Them at the bottom level, they don't give a fuck about them either.
They don't. They really don't.
They don't care about your opinion, how you feel about the contract. They don't really care.
Right. And I tell them all the time, it's like, look, your boss's boss signed the agreement.
Yeah.
I'm not here to negotiate an agreement. I'm telling you what the fuck to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And they sit back going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is not what they meant. I said, well, I guess you weren't there. Yeah. Check the back of the book. My name's on the contract.
There you go. I know the intent.
Exactly.
So let's get into where you do the organizing, you come back, and then you become a business agent? How does that happen?
So, just hitting barn after barn here in the LA area, in the IE area.
Hitting manager after manager.
No, I had stopped now. At that point, I stopped. But yeah, I hit this one barn. I organized this one barn, obviously with the help of a lot of people. But it was just I went on that organizing drive. I went like 5-6 months without a day off.
Wow.
The driving force was just the workers behind it. They're literally in organizing. You're literally telling workers, take a chance with us because the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Jeopardize, especially these immigrant workers, like literally jeopardize your livelihood. Yeah. And they take a chance and a belief in you because they don't know. They're immigrant workers. They don't know. So then it just barn after barn I was hitting. I was the organizer. Then I became a business agent at UPS. They needed some help at UPS.
What year was that?
2012. I became a business agent at UPS. 2013.
Okay.
I became a business agent at UPS. I'm familiar with it, but I was so far from it because I was in organizing.
So you took that long break, came back, you were a business agent.
I wouldn't call it a break. I was working.
Well,
I was organizing. I was doing God's work.
So what I mean by that, a break from UPS, because you initially came from UPS.
Right.
Went into organizing.
Right.
Came back as a business agent. You're a business agent, and from that point, from 2012, correct me if I'm wrong, to where you're at now. So tell us how you ended up where you're at right now.
I mean, business agent at UPS, I continued just working, helping out and organizing. We created a volunteer organizing program. I was the director of the Amazon project at Local 396. I was the director for that, and engaging volunteer organizers, creating a power to hit this big giant of Amazon who's threatening our way of life. Then the principal officer retires, and the executive board voted me in as secretary treasurer. So an honor and a privilege, and hold on. We got a lot of shit to do.
Hold on to your socks.
and not just the principal officer that you came into, but also
let's talk titles. I think that's where Sawas is getting.
Title.
So what are your,
my proud title is I'm a shovel guy.
I mean, I love the humility that you bring into this. I love it. But what I'm saying is, not only you are the principal officer, but you are also just appointed to what?
Under the new administration, under Sean and Fred, they took over, and I was appointed the Western Region Assistant Director. So Mark is the director, Mark Davidson, but you guys had him on the show, listening to Madonna and the Beastie Boys. Yeah. I love Mark. So then I'm the assistant director, and then shortly after, I was appointed to the Southwest chair. So I will be chairing the Southwest in negotiations. I chair and oversee the JLM, the Joint Area Labor Management Committee. In the Southwest, it's 11 locals, so I oversee that.
And that was something totally different for you because 396 was never involved in the JOM.
Well, it's correct? We partake in everything in the Southwest with the exception of the grievance panel system, the JOM. Our local union in 396 has historically, we have our own discipline process. We have our own local union panel. We have expedited arbitration. So our discipline cases go to expedited arbitration. Our interpreted cases go directly to the West.
So for those of us that might not know, what are the pros and cons of having the sitting arbitrator and the difference between going to the first level panel and what you guys have?
It's just a little bit different. Our local 396 panel was created, so it's just a little bit smaller. It's just literally dedicated to local 396 members.
A little mini panel.
It's a mini panel. And in fact, Sabas, it's funny how you bring that up. It's originally it was called the mini panel.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Okay.
So, and then it became the local 396 monthly panel.
So you do it monthly.
Correct.
Okay. And then
monthly.
on the company side and the union side, is it two people?
It's 2 people on each side.
Okay.
It's myself, I'll chair it,
Okay.
and then the counterpart for the company and whoever he picks on there. So we'll hear interpretive cases in our mini panel. It's nothing. It's not like the JOM where we hear discipline cases. All our discipline cases go to expedited arbitration.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we have a sitting arbitrator who we have arbitrations pretty much every month.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just a little different.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
get it.
when the JOM was created, at the time of the leadership probably just decided not to.
Yeah, way before our time. It
Right.
just
Right,
is what
right,
it is.
way before our
Yeah.
time, exactly.
Well, I got to say, seeing both sides of the JOM in the past and where we're at now, and I could just tell you that, I in my opinion, with you chairing now and the JOM, things are different.
Thank you, Salo.
And I think a lot of us see that, and we're very appreciative of you coming on
Thank you.
and being in the position that you're in, because JOM is obviously different from the 396 mini panel. So
Yeah.
Right.
like we've been talking about. We love the direction that everything's
Right.
going, and that's no knock on anybody else. I think everybody
Absolutely.
has their time and everybody does their thing, right? There's been a lot of good, that came out of the Teamsters in general,
Right.
with older administrations and whatnot. But as an entity, we really need to progress and change with the times and update and get fresh blood in there. And that's kind of, I feel like that's where it's been going. We're just kind of reinvigorating ourselves and really, making the Teamsters a household name again, and just
That's
kind of
exciting.
You know what I mean? That kind of shit excites me. So
It gives me goosebumps
I hope
thinking of
I hope
that, yeah.
you guys are excited because
Absolutely.
stuff that we talk about,
Absolutely.
stuff that we talked about last week is you guys are the union. We're nobody without the members, right?
Right, absolutely.
We're nobody. It's the same thing. It's just like management, right? We need the backing of the members. The management needs them for their labor, but they hold the power, and it's
They absolutely do. I get passionate. It's just like even talking at our general membership meetings in my local, but it's just the union is the power. We have to literally, there was a time, that I experienced and just listening to workers, because that's the big thing, listening to workers. And there was a time I would hear in representing solid waste workers, I would hear, well, ¿qué va a hacer la unión? Or ¿quién nos agarró la unión? Which is mean, what is the union going to do? What did the union get us?
Yep.
Well, how are we separating ourselves from this?
Yeah.
And in negotiating contracts, we had a big strike a year ago in December, we had a big strike here in Orange County with the solid waste workers in Orange County. But it's literally telling the workers, you are the union. We are going to lead you into this fight, but you are going to get out of your comfort zone. You are going to get out of your comfort zone. There's no room for standing on the sideline and playing both sides.
amen to that. Seriously. I mean, like I said, that's one thing that we have to fight against, and we have to keep people motivated.
Right.
Right. There's no room for complacency.
No room.
You get into this, like a rut where you're like, I think I have everything good. And just to be honest, and this is completely my opinion, you might not hold the same opinion, but UPS has had a great contract, one of the best for a long time.
Right.
And these guys, a lot of the times they're like, I don't want to cause waves and I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. But you see how the company little by little has taken and taken. And, it's time to fight, and it's one thing that actually, believe it or not, when I was just a member, I actually talked to Eric about, my feelings on that and just how, we got to get fucking people motivated and involved. And it's a different labor climate now than it was, 20, 30 years ago. It's not the same.
It's just even with the approval rating of unions now.
Yeah.
It's like and as an organization, as a union, we have to take advantage of it and create these soldiers in the youth. That's what we have to bring up.
we have to get them. We have to get them engaged. And part of that is having you, the Secretary Treasurer of 396, and being here with us, and the relationship that you have with Eric Jimenez and our local here, 952.
Right.
The company also sees that. They see, like, we're getting together, we're getting on the same page, right? With the direction from Mark from the West coming down to
From
you,
Sean,
from
from
all the way down,
Sean and Fred,
right? And all of us here, even with Local 63, everybody coming together, getting on the same page. I think the company's starting to see, like, oh, man, these guys are all talking. They're all getting on the same page.
Yeah.
And I love that direction because they see that.
But it's funny, Sabas, that you bring that up. It's actually really good because it's you're paying attention, because in the past, this company has been able to pin locals against each other.
Yep.
Yeah. Just like they do with workers in the workplace. It's the same thing, just on a bigger
divide
scale.
and conquer,
Right.
right? Divide and conquer. And you're absolutely right. I have a great relationship with Eric. You get local 952 principal officer. I mean, I was in your barn in Anaheim.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. No, just the other day when right after negotiations,
Right.
We went in there, and we appreciate that you came in. Prior to that, when we had that whole change of operations,
Right.
some of your guys came into our jurisdiction. I think that was the starting point of, and I know that you and Eric have already had a relationship in the past. You guys knew each other.
I've known Eric for many years. When he was a rank and file, we worked a Prop 32 campaign.
Right. And,
That was years ago.
And now that both of you guys are in the position that you're in as being the STs and the relationship that you guys have, we're coming together. The company sees that.
Right.
Under the direction, starting with Sean, all the way down, like we talked about with Mark Davidson. Like, I'm excited to see that the company, in my opinion, sees over here, even with Carla, with 104, all of us are getting together. Yeah.
Well, the big thing about it is the message is being sent. It's loud and clear. You ain't gonna fucking divide us.
Right.
So that's the big part. We're gonna protect the members at Local 952, at Local 104, or anywhere in the Southwest, or anywhere in the International Union, are joined together by the hip. I use the term a lot, standing shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing going
On the
into
line.
these negotiations. On the line. Exactly. Shoulder to shoulder on the line.
And that's one thing that we've given praise about here on the show, is the uniformity that's being created under certain under Mark's guidance here, the calls that we have for the West and just
and the transparency,
keeping everybody informed and on the same page. And it's huge because we've talked about it on the show before, where the company always has the company's back, no matter what. They're whether right, wrong, or indifferent, they're always they always have each other's back, and you see it with operations. Operations does fucking whatever they want, right? And then labor will know they're wrong, but still back them on it.
But the big difference with that, John, is the company, they don't give their management people a voice. They literally, this is what you're doing, or you're out the door. And this organization is like, hey, come join the fight, because it's going to benefit you. Yeah. So it's time. Let's go.
Oh, I'm ready, man. This is interesting.
Go.
So let's change gears a bit. So we were going to change gears. Sawas had to go ahead and take off. He had something to do, but fuck Sawas. We're not really worried about it.
No, you can't say that about Sawas.
I love him, but fuck him.
Yeah,
so,
I love him too. He's a good dude.
So anyways, we're going to bring another guest. Why don't you introduce the guest?
Wow, I have the privilege and honor to introduce our next. I mean, I need the sound effects.
Yeah, we're gonna throw it in there.
DJ sound effects. So, our next guest, we're going to introduce Eric Jimenez, principal officer.
Eric Jimenez.
And a representative of the package division.
What a pleasant surprise. I've been giving him a bunch of props today, but,
he's taking up most of the couch space now, too, for the record.
Get close, guys. Get close. But we were changing gears a little bit. Welcome, Eric.
Well,
glad to have you on the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
But let's switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about Vic. Something we do, we do a get to know you segment. And actually, I think we could do it with both, because I don't think we did it with you when you were on the last time, Eric. So let's go over Vic too. First, get to know you segment. So outside of work, what are you into? What do you do? You know, family. What's up with Vic?
Family. I have a great relationship with my kids, my family, my parents, my dad.
How many kids?
I got 2 kids. A 22-year-old. She's 22. She's 6'1".
Wow.
So yeah, she's a tall girl and she knows it too. So she's tough as nails. And then I got an 18-year-old who's in college right now. Moved out. He's living in a dorm. So it's pretty cool. He's
Out of state, in state?
No, he's in state. His mom wouldn't let him go out of state. I wanted him to go to school in Russia, but
Wow.
he didn't
That would've
listen
been
to me,
interesting.
obviously. No, but yeah, he goes to Cal State LA. He's in their engineering program.
Not a Ukraine fan, huh?
No, I'm kidding. I just threw that out there.
Jokes.
Right, but
I mean, me personally, I'm still thinking his daughter's 6'1". Dude, that's like 4 inches taller than me.
6'1", and she'll kick your ass too, Eric.
Are you sure it's just 4 inches?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time, you know, my off time. I spend time with my family, with my parents. I have a great relationship. My parents live literally next door to me. They've helped me raise these kids and to becoming good human beings in society. So
There you go. So what do you do for fun?
fun, fish.
Do you fish?
Yes, I'm a
Dude.
big fisherman.
Don't even get me started.
Yes,
bro.
yes, yes.
Where do you fish?
I do a lot of trout fishing.
I do,
in
too.
the Eastern Sierras.
I love it up there, dude.
Oh,
I'm always
love
in
it. Yeah.
Bishop, June Lake, Bridgeport,
All of those.
Lee Vining.
Oh, I probably have the record in
So there's going to be a
Silver Lake.
contest between Eric, Victor, and John.
Fishing.
Who
Well,
catches
what's
the
your biggest fish in the Sierras?
I'll show you a picture. You can share this on there. It's a big one. I caught that one last year trolling, and it was a competition with me and my son. So
Nice.
yeah, he's
what lake were
very
you guys at?
competitive. We were at Silver.
Oh, okay.
At Silver, so
In the
yeah.
June Loop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the loop.
Yeah, I've caught some big fish there. My biggest so far in the Sierras, 6 pounds
Oh wow.
out of
That's a big fish
Twin
up there.
Lakes, Bridgeport. Right? It's pretty
Right.
fucking
Big
big,
fish
dude.
out
It's
Yeah.
cool. That's a 6-pounder is nice. Let's just say I had an 11-pounder for
But-
the record.
But my biggest is 13 and a half. And that's out of Corona Lake when they had it back in the day. I was float tubing and I fucking caught it.
Yeah, but that fish used to eat lead.
Lead
No,
and
I'm
pellets
kidding.
and stuff. You know.
Yeah, because my son's very competitive. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It's just when we compete, it's just everything.
Whenever we get on the fishing stuff, I've
we
told
can
the
go on
stories
the-
before. I do a lot of ocean fishing too, or I should say I did before I took this job.
Yeah, I don't do ocean fishing as much as I used to, or my son does it. Like he's a big outdoorsman.
Yeah.
So he wake up in the morning and shoot me a text and just like, "Hey, Dad, I'm fishing." I go, "Where are you going with?" "Oh, by myself." I was like, "Whoa, it's that serious?"
Yeah.
So,
No,
but yeah,
I'm
he's
into it, man. It's
yeah,
fucking
he's
cool.
really,
we
really
can whip
into
them
it.
out and see who has the biggest fish. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, it would.
What about you, Eric?
Biggest fish I've ever caught?
Guppy.
Yeah.
The biggest fish I've ever caught was at intake 2, and I think it was just a little bit over 5 pounds.
Nice.
Which is
I like
said,
intake two.
for up-
Intake two is fun, dude.
Yeah,
Right.
it's huge. But same thing. I've been up June Loop, Mammoth Lakes,
I fucking love it.
Bishop.
Up there, dude.
I've been throughout Bishop, South Lake, North Lake, intake 2. I tried.
And for the record, Eric, that's our jurisdiction in UPS. So.
Well, I call
Is
fish-
it?
It is. It is.
Oh,
Our
shit. You have a
jurisdiction-
business agent out there?
There's a reason why I stop up there and I say, "Hey, do you guys want to come to 952?"
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we have a yard in Bishop. Our furthest yard is borders up in Reno,
Oh, okay.
the Reno area. There's
I've been to the
Ridgecrest.
Bishop Hub. I
Yeah,
passed
that's
by
right.
it, whatnot. It's
Right.
tiny little shack.
Yeah,
But it's cool, man. I know. I actually know a couple drivers that want to transfer out there.
right.
It's a dream. Live in probably Aspendell in the area, right?
Right.
And just
Independent and
fish
all
all day, and
that. Right. Yeah, that's all our area over there.
or I should say, fish all night. Business agent by day or driver by day, whatever. But so yeah, you fish. Anything else you do for fun?
I mean, the list goes on and on. Just hanging out, and I work for fun. So
Hey, I got to admit, and I've expressed on the show, and I've expressed, outwardly that I love this job. I don't feel like so much working all the time, if that makes sense.
It's funny how you say that though, John, because I keep saying that, but honestly, I wake up every day, I put my feet on the ground and says, how are we going to improve workers' lives today? It sounds corny and everything, but I truly believe in this, and I think we all believe in that.
You have to. And it's one thing that we talked about last week.
Long
with
hours,
Mark,
long days,
right?
away from home.
This is a lifestyle. It really is.
It is.
It really is. I mean, you got to be passionate about it, and it's bigger than us. Like we said.
Well, when
earlier.
you love what you do, it's never work.
Right.
It's never work. You know what I mean? And obviously all of us, including Victor and you, John, and along with Savas, we got in this not because we just were looking for a job. It was a passion for us. And I tell people all the time, how many people can say they have a job where they get to sit across the table from some yuppie or some schmuck that spent $500,000 on a Ivy League college degree.
Right.
And I came out of UPS and I get to tell him to fucking go pound sand, and he's the one who has to walk out of the room and deal with it. There's not many people that get that kind of a job.
That
so
reminds
it's actually really fun.
It really is. It reminds me of a story that Chuck Stiles, one of my mentors and my good
story
friend.
time.
It's story time. There you go. Dun, 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 dun.
Eric and Vic stories.
No, but it's funny because he had a union buster, an attorney. He pulled him to the side and he literally goes, "What a level of education do you have?" And Chuck told him, "What do you mean?" And he goes, No, look, this is completely off the record. I'm not trying to mess with you. I'm just really trying to understand things." And he told Chuck goes, "I have a high school education in some college and stuff." And he goes, "Well, the attorney replies, and he goes, "Well, I'm just trying to understand. My parents spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education. How do you get these workers to listen to you?" And Chuck Stiles' way, he told them.
Chuck Stiles style?
In Chuck Stiles' style, he told them, he goes, "Listen, you fly around in your jets. You fly around, you have this high education. But one thing that I don't do, I don't fuck people for a living." And that's what you do. You got
I'm not
education.
a porn star.
No, fuck workers over. Fuck
Yeah,
livelihoods
fucking A.
over. And that's what you do. Your parents paid all this money to screw people over. So it's just meaningful, and it just hits home.
Yeah.
It really does. So I better let Eric talk.
Well, wait. Questions.
He's looking at me going like...
So I know this kind of sounds a little off, but how did you guys meet?
Wow, Eric, do you want to tell him the story?
You know what? I've known Vic for a long time. Probably 10, 15 plus years now. I mean, obviously, like him, I was a rank and file guy that grew up. My dad was a union man, so as soon as I got into UPS, I wanted to get involved in the union. And probably about 2004 is when I really started becoming active in our local union, which was 952, and volunteering quite a time. Because at that age that me and Victor jumped into this, a lot of it's volunteer time. You don't get paid. Nobody pays you to come out to these rallies. Nobody pays you to go knock on doors or to help organize. It's something that you have in your heart. It's something that runs through your blood. And we came into there was a campaign where this is where me and Victor really met, was a Prop 32 campaign. And I think it was in about 2000, in between 2000.
Your new name is Rick, by the way.
Rick, I know, he calls me Rick.
Yeah.
I've been called worse.
Yeah. It was in between 2010, 2012, I think. But it was a prop that was trying to be passed through the state of California, where they were going to try taking the union's rights away from getting dues and political funds.
Kind of like a right to work would.
Kind of like a right to work for political, so our unions wouldn't be able to fight politically for workers' rights. And it was put on by a lot of rich corporations.
Like the Koch brothers.
Yeah, the Koch brothers. And, it was tasked. I mean, it was said that if this law passed, it was really going to, just cut the ability of unions to fight for workers. So, myself and Victor being very active, they put a team together throughout Southern California. When I say they, the hierarchy of the Teamsters Union, Joint Council 42 specifically, along with all of California, put a team together. And me and Vic landed on this team of about 15, 20 guys that probably were about our age, and we were working under, you know, guys had been around the union a long time, and our job was to, from San Diego all the way to San Luis Obispo, hit every single Teamster yard, and not just UPS, every single Teamster yard.
Wow.
Educating our members what a prop like this would do if it was passed, and how it would cut our legs out from under us, and ultimately take us out of the political realm of trying to fight for workers. So, I mean, obviously, when you're spending shit, you know, I mean, like we all say, you know, love hanging out with the family, but a lot of times we hang out more with the union, and do more with the union than we do with our family. But I mean, we were spending
weeks at a time.
Yeah, weeks at a time, traveling in vans.
But for the record, we didn't share hotel rooms.
What kind of vans were you guys?
You know, we were traveling all over the place.
I've seen a movie like that.
Yeah, and you know, we were sleeping in hotels. We were, you know, traveling in vans. You know,
long hours.
Yeah,
remember,
long hours.
We would be up early in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning. We'd be at a barn. And then, you know, at night we would be hitting
a bar.
Another barn. Yeah. No, not a bar, a barn.
Yeah, we'd be
joking. We'd be joking, everybody.
Yeah, we'd be at different yards all day, and luckily, you know, we defeated that prop. But that's where, you know, I actually, not just a Victor, that's where a lot of guys that you see very active, and when I say guys and gals, that at our age have moved into positions of leadership, that's where a lot of us stemmed from. That's where a lot of us networked with each other. You know what I mean? From that point on, I remember, you know, wherever I saw Vic, it was always like, hey, Prop 32, remember? You know, there's a lot of guys across, you know, different locals that we now have ties with. And believe it or not, you know, never fails, especially, you know, when we're on our personal time and we actually can decompress and talk about funny things. Never fails. Prop 32 always comes up, you know, and talks because of the stuff we had to do with each other, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, we've known each other a long time, and then, you know, obviously I've known him through the UPS talks and all that kind of stuff, and his local, you know, I mean, his locals, you know, our sister local right next door in LA. Yeah. So yeah, like I said,
we partner up and for the good fight together too.
Yeah,
so
no doubt. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So a little bit more about Vic. You like fishing, family, all that stuff. I kind of want to go into like the direction, right? So something we talked to Mark about last week, something we've talked to Eric a little bit, and we'll get to you. I want to hear your direction for the local, but for the Southwest, since you're the Southwest chair for UPS for the JOM, right? And the Western Region Assistant Director, where do you see us going? What is your vision?
Our look, we got to go into these negotiations, and I say this a lot to the members of 396, is we got to go into these fights in any organizing, I mean, any contract campaign. We got to go in with the mission is protect what we have and fight like fucking hell to get what we want. Yep. It's our turn. We deserve it. We're not asking for the whole pie, but we're asking for a nice, healthy piece. It's
nice, healthy piece of that $13 billion that UPS
13,
made.
I think, 0.7.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly. You can't call us essential workers. I know it's been said that you call us essential workers. Our members had no choice. They didn't have an option to work from home. They literally went out there, especially during the pandemic. I mean, our UPS workers, our sanitation workers, they were cleaning the city. They didn't know where this was going. They didn't have the option, well, I'm working from home today. They didn't. They took the challenge head on, and literally for corporations to, we're essential workers, but then we're going to screw you over. If you're going to call us heroes, treat us like heroes and put it on paper. Yep. That's what it deals. And the direction that needs to be taken is our voices will be heard. There's, the six
silent
punch
no
issue.
longer.
Right. The six punch situation, forcing our members to work 6 days a week. And granted, there's some members who enjoy that, who want to do that. And that's fine. But being forced is we work to live, not live to work.
There you go.
So that's a big thing we have to remember. Like we have to address this is now people want to spend more time with their family. It's just the time of just always working is not going to work.
The pandemic, as you kind of expressed, opened a lot of people's eyes to that, right?
Right.
To the time they spend with their family, to all the things. It kind of puts a lot in perspective.
Right.
And that's one thing, as a driver, I was still on the truck during the pandemic, and I had to deal with all that and all the, I wouldn't say I was so much fearful, but the uncertainty
the
of
uncertainty
event,
and
right?
the unknown. You didn't know this is a novel disease, and it's just like people are dying, and
But we kept the world going. I mean, in all honesty, UPS and a lot of the other essential workers and whatnot, we kept the world going while everyone was kind of hunkered down. We didn't have a choice, and that's
I'll
one
tell
thing.
you right now, and you're right there, John. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I mean, just in our jurisdiction, and I can guarantee you in Victor's jurisdiction too, just in our jurisdiction, out of our 9,500 members that we have, our close to 10,000 members we have, I mean, maybe 5% of our members were restricted from working full hours or laid off fully. 95% of our members, and I'm pretty sure across the country, 95% of the Teamsters were working across the country because the jobs that we held, the jobs that at one point people looked and said, oh, those are labor jobs, you never want to do those. Guess what? It was those labor jobs that people tend to sometimes look at and say, you don't want to do that kind of work, and those guys don't have any education. It was us that kept the world going.
kept the world afloat.
From grocery workers loading our trucks to the truckers, delivering those loads, and then those,
picking up the trash.
And then those grocery workers from different unions still having to sit at the register while people were getting to stay home. Like I said, waste workers picking up trash. People were throwing out their bed covers, their sheets, because they didn't know if the virus lived on those sheets for how long they lived on them. Right. I mean, just anything and everything. I mean, our beverage members, they went from delivering soda to delivering water. Their main product was water during that time because it was a time of uncertainty. And again, like Victor said, we didn't have the opportunity to sit in our homes and protect ourselves. As a matter of fact, it was my job and Victor's job at the time, along with his other leadership and my other leadership, to work with these companies to get our members working, to be able to provide these companies with relief that the Teamsters could provide for them, to make sure we were providing the world with some hope that we'd get out of this. And it needs to be seen, and specifically to UPS. I mean, our drivers were delivering the world, literally.
I remember getting the letter, and I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a lot of talks about restricting movement, throughout the city or the state, really, restricting movement. And then they sent us that letter that, hey, if you guys get pulled over or whatever, you have this letter you present to the authority, and you're an essential worker, right? That was such a trip. I'm like, man, this is crazy, right?
It's real. It's like, shit.
It made
like,
things more real. Like, okay, well, I can still go places because I'm a UPS driver.
Well, no.
But just think about
we
it,
had
though.
to.
Well, at the time, I had to provide our business agents and our staff with laminated cards from our legal team stating that the governor has allowed us to be on road. Because I remember when they officially shut down the country, there was, it was like Armageddon.
They were like, I remember because my house is in Corona and I had to drive to Orange County. I remember how there was no traffic.
It was like a movie scene. It was really like a movie scene. Like,
it was really weird. But
if you think about it, the world stopped.
Yeah.
Not just the United States, not just our cities we work in, our communities. The world fucking stopped. Mm-hmm. And Teamsters, union members, essential workers kept working.
Yeah.
And this is how this corporation is profiting.
Yeah. Yeah. And they made record profits.
And they continue to do it because people now it's a way of life now.
Yeah,
they want
e-commerce is huge. Right. Mm-hmm. And I remember them saying, well, everything's shutting down, but you got to go to work.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, let's do it. I mean, honestly, I think, we all kind of sucked it up and we all did what we had to do as UPSers and as Teamsters, because the majority of us were still working. Yeah. We were essential. But like you said, we need to be not rewarded, but
No, it's
but
recognized.
Recognized. That's the word I was looking for.
Right.
We need to be
not,
recognized.
we're not
for
asking
who we
for
are.
a handout here. We're asking for what we fucking deserve.
Yeah. We got the direction from you as far as, where you feel like we need to go. Just a quick segue from that. So where's the direction of 952 going since we have Eric on? What do you feel like? What's next for us?
Congratulations on your new election too. It was an honor to partake in his swearing too. So
congratulations. And
congratulations.
if you guys don't know, we actually showed it. The swearing in. Sean came down for the new year and swore Eric and the e-board into their new term, right? So that was freaking awesome. So
Correct.
What's next? What do you see on the horizon for 952?
I mean, not backing down. The fact that we won another 3-year term, and I've had this talks with people, is not the ticket or not the opening of the door to now scale back and say, okay, we got past another election, we got 3 years, we can kind of take it slow and easy this time. Labor movement's never slow and easy. There's always going to be challenges out there, and the fact that our biggest push is just getting that membership involved. We have to keep pushing forward. There is no relaxing. We got to keep pushing forward. We got to keep building the strength and the unity of members. When Sean was down, I named quite a bit of things that we were able to achieve over the last 3 years. Good contracts, it's just so many great things that came throughout the new administration. But the one thing that I really pinpoint that we created over 3 years and that we need to keep moving into the next 3 years and so on is the fact that our membership is just it's vibrant. They are getting involved. I mean, our swearing meeting had over 350 people there, packed.
Right.
Packed. It was great.
There
standing room only. Yeah, Victor was there with Sean.
Lindsay came down.
Lindsay Doherty, Western Region Vice President came down. So it was great. But the one thing that just stuck with me was like, we couldn't get more than 20 people to our union hall 3 years ago.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be involved.
That would have kind of been tough on a Wednesday night, right?
Right.
They didn't want to wear this patch on their shoulder. You know what I mean? They didn't really care. Or were just uneducated, or really honestly weren't motivated to want to know what a Teamster was or what we did for them.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we can't go without having a large group of Teamsters wanting to be involved, and they're showing up. And that's the biggest thing, because without the members, I mean, at the end of the day, I can speak the biggest game in the world. I can say I'm going to achieve this, and this, but without our members behind us, we're not a union.
Amen to that.
I think moving forward, that's going to be one of the biggest things that we need to keep achieving is how do we keep our membership thriving to want to be involved with the Teamsters Union?
Yeah.
How do we, because once I'm gone, once Victor's gone, we're still going to be looking to see our membership get involved, and
so in a nutshell, Eric, what you're saying is #let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's keep moving, and to the membership, being very blunt, get involved, get off your ass. You know what I mean? Right. Do not let something come to your door that threatens to take your rights away, or threatens to take your pay away, or threatens to take your health care away before you step into and say, okay, hey, should I do something now? Don't be reactive, be proactive.
Yeah, and it's one of the things like I mentioned earlier that I tell my members, they might not see it, because the Teamsters have done such a good job fighting at UPS, so they might not see it, but the company wants to take everything. The company wants to go the way of Amazon. They've been buying other companies. If you guys don't know, as UPSers, look into Roadie. UPS bought a company called Roadie. They've bought another company in Texas. And these companies they've bought, they're saying that they're same-day delivery service, which is to us is just another service that UPS can do, that UPS drivers, the Teamsters can do. And they're trying slowly but surely to take everything from you. You might not see it. You might want to not cause waves or not get involved or stay under the radar. I hear it all. But at the end of the day, it takes you guys to fight. That's it. We need, like we said, you guys are the union. We need your backing. We want to fight, but we need you guys.
Absolutely. There's no standing in the sidelines. We have to make that clear. You guys are going to get taken out of your comfort zone. I can't get tired of saying that we got to go shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
The big thing, too, we got to remember is a lot of UPS members and don't understand what they came into. We have a lot of rights, but that wasn't, UPS didn't give us that. We had to fight. There was somebody sitting in this role at the time to fight and protect and so we have to protect what we got and fight like hell,
or we'll lose it,
or we're going to lose it.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
That's
exactly.
That's the part
and
that
I tell
people
too,
don't understand. It's not going to stay the same.
Yeah.
Right.
UPS wants to take everything.
I mean, UPS, a good example of UPS and
all employers. Let's just not talk
Right.
about
Really,
UPS.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I'll give you two examples of UPS and what they are willing to do and how their mind is nothing but money. At the end of the day, it's nothing but money, and it's not their employees that make the money. It's how they're going to make that money. Right. Back, I think when the recession hit in 2008, 2009, UPS knew that we had a union contract that couldn't take away our wages, couldn't take away our health care. So what was the first thing they did is they turned to their management and they forced the older management to early retire. And if they didn't, they said, hey, well, then we're going to ship you somewhere where you're going to retire.
Took their pension away.
They took their pension away.
Right.
At the same time, they took, they made their spouses. Management had been, for a long time, proud of saying, hey, I'm going into management to get stocks, pension.
Yeah.
My wife gets health care like the union people.
Yep.
They were going down the line saying, hey, your spouse no longer gets health care. But that was because they were non-union. They didn't have a contract, and that's what they could do. Just recently,
You need to organize supervisors.
Yeah. Well, just recently, the current CEO of UPS cut 17,000. My understanding is over 17,000 management jobs. Over 17,000. That's over 17,000 people.
I'm off the clock, so I can say fuck her.
Yeah. that got a letter and saying that. Now think about that. If they're willing to eat their own babies, like a black widow, they're willing to eat their own children and throw them out the door. What do you think they'll do if we get, lazy as union members, complacent as union members, or we say, oh, it can never happen to us as union members? It will. Yeah. Because I'll tell you right now, when we used to have to fight for lunches and breaks and laws that protected children from having to go to work, if you think that stuff can never happen again in this country, it will. It will, because we can't close our eyes. Because when we do, I promise you, it'll come back to us. It will come back to us. And
it still happens in other countries.
OCTA,
right.
Just a little bit over a year ago, OCTA, our biggest fight at OCTA was give our members 15 minutes so they can eat something,
go to the bathroom.
And you think of this day, how does that happen in America? I mean, how
in
does
the richest county of the
how does that happen? So I mean, again, Victor's right. We need to be very vigilant when it comes to keeping our membership educated and involved, along with us as leadership, because we do. I'll tell you right now, and I know I speak for Victor, when we say thank you to the membership for giving us your hopes and your trust that we're going to do the best, because we do work for you, and we love that you guys give us your trust to do what's best for you. But as leaders too, we can't become complacent, because when that happens, corporate America will take advantage of us.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Can't happen.
I agree. It's all about profits for them.
Yeah. Right. Oh, no doubt.
But let's not forget, like Eric is saying, he's absolutely right. But we can't do it without the members. We have to get involved. Look, I understand. I'm a father. We all have things to do. But this is a contract that comes around every 5 years. This is a contract. We got to go. There's no time to stand on the sideline and say, I support you morally. No, bullshit. You're going to get in the trenches with us.
Yeah, it's full contact sport, right? Just like Sean says.
No
I mean,
our general president says it right.
Yeah. Full contact sport.
There ain't no time for sideline. There ain't no time for Monday morning quarterbacks. You know what I mean? I've said it before. Everybody could say you would have, should have, could have, did this. But it's easy to say that when you're on the sideline yelling, well, why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? Rather than saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to step off the sideline. I'm going to pick up a weapon, and I'm going to charge with my brothers and sisters to get what's best for me and my family and my brothers and sisters in the union.
In a whole.
And one of the things that Mark talked about last week, was not bashing where you even you can bash, right? Where that we might be lacking in something. Get off the sideline, do something. What are you doing? I like to ask members that. Yeah. What are you doing? Have you been to your general membership meetings? Have you gotten involved? What are you doing to progress your union? Right. To move forward. It really is that coined phrase. It's a full contact sport. You gotta fucking get in the game.
Look at any great movement out there. I mean, any great movement out there from Cesar Chavez to, James R. Hoffa and the National Master Freight Agreement to, Martin Luther King, getting civil rights passed. No great movement was ever started or ever achieved by people saying, well, why didn't you do this? Or why it was done by people saying, okay, it's enough time for talking. Let's get on the street. Let's walk. Let's picket. Let's hold signs. Let's go march down to the Capitol. Let's do this. And everybody that was telling those people, you'll never achieve. You'll never get this. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. They'll never get it done. It got done.
So you net bangers out there, I'll say it. You net bangers, get involved. What are you doing? What are you doing to help? Where are you at the meetings? And for those of you guys that don't know what net bangers is, it's just people that get on the internet and like to talk a lot. Yeah. We got members that are, in my opinion, anti-union. Yeah, they hate the Teamsters. And I'm like, dude, well, get involved. If you are that passionate, get involved, do what you can, organize members, even within your center, even within, your barn, get those members active,
It's funny,
get
John.
on the same page.
Back to story time.
Story time. I love this.
It's funny though, because as a young organizer, I can't remember who told me this story, or I was with somebody. It was an older organizer. I was in, I think, Philadelphia on a waste campaign over there. I just can't remember exactly. But this door we knocked at, we were talking to the worker we were organizing, and she went into a full-fledged rant how much she hates the Teamsters because they did her so wrong. And I remember literally this older, we heard her out, obviously. And I just remember this older organizer, he turns around and looks at her as like, so you've given me no reason why you should be hating the Teamsters. Every reason you hate the Teamsters is because you hated that person. Don't hate the organization. Don't have a problem with the organization. It's better yet, have a problem with that person. That person doesn't represent the whole organization in a whole.
In any organization, you're going to have, ups and downs and honestly, some bad apples and whatnot, right? It's about getting involved and doing your part. And that's really what it comes down to.
And in all reality, she literally sat back and said, oh my God, a couple of guys who misrepresented me or her at the time have made me ruin my taste for unions. Yeah. But the reality is they're there to help me. So it's just, it literally sunk in, and it's just, look, there's certain people in any organization, we say it at the doors in inoculation meeting.
One member does not represent the whole organization.
But
Thank you.
That, and I've told you, John, off the camera, and I talk to people, it's sad to see, some of our members, constantly downplay our union when there's a reason why we've been around for over 100 years, and that's because we have provided for families. We have changed the lives of working families. We have changed so many things throughout, our country, politically wise, or law wise. They focus on the one negative thing we've done rather than the 1,000 great things we've done. And that's just important.
And you call them internet bangers or
net bangers
or net bangers. That's funny. And don't get it mistaken. The messages that they're out there just banging. It's union busters use it. Yeah. I can tell you campaign after campaign in organizing drives that we've done to grow this membership. And it's not just grow the membership just to grow numbers in our local union. It grows members in our pensions, our health and welfare plans. But literally, I have had organizing drives that I've worked with and had workers come back, and union busters are printing the stuff and giving it to the workers. You see what I mean? Their own people don't like them, and their own people don't. So why would you join an organization?
I'll tell you, like we said it earlier, but the company's paying attention.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And the company sees this. Companies out there, wherever you work, companies pay attention, and they see this stuff. You guys, I'm not saying you guys, but they see the stuff. Sometimes it's put out there, and they're like, oh, these guys they're in turmoil. And I liked actually the way that some of our other guests, our previous guest last week Mark was talking about, he kind of framed it as a family, right? And you can have disagreements with your family at the table, and you do that in-house.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You don't do that outside where everyone else can see.
Right.
You know, I've had fist fights with my cousins. You know, you'll get into it, but at the end of the day, you're family.
Right.
And that is what it is.
Don't
you know
shit
what
on
I
the
mean?
porch where you live.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
Exactly.
And
You can have disagreement.
and he's right. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's right. You just don't. That's between us. You know, and to your point, John. Not only do the companies see it, they encourage it.
Yeah.
They encourage.
1,000%.
Concord.
Oh, they love it.
They encourage our
They love it.
members, you know, to see. They read the blogs and say, like, dude, these people don't get along. What makes us think that they're going to fight with each other, or fight with each other moving forward, come into this contract campaign? And our members need to see that. You know what I mean? Trust me, companies realize everything that's going on there. They have people constantly looking.
Like the same way we survey our members, the company's doing all day long too.
1,000%.
And they're checking the temperature to see. So as a message, when this comes out, it's if the company at UPS tries to question you, would you do it, not do it, strike or not strike? Hell yeah, I'm behind a good contract.
Yeah. And that's the message, and you know, and you know, John, you know, and I know we're going on, you know, like I said, like I guess you call them net bangers. That's a pretty
Net bangers, that's funny.
That's a pretty. I'm like, what's a net banger?
You know who you are.
You know, yeah. You know, the other thing too is, you know, that people like to throw at people is, well, you know, you used to support this person, and now you don't, so you're a flip flopper. That's not the way things work. You know what I mean? Like I said, you know, at the end of the day, like anything in this country, you know, democracy, you put your hopes and your trust in people to do the right thing for you.
Yeah.
You give them that chance. And when they do right, you applaud them, you say thank you, and you keep rolling with them. When you feel that they're not going your way or that there needs to be a different direction taken, you know, the fact that you get up and you say, okay, well, hey, this guy retired, and now I'm going to vote for this guy, and somebody, oh, look at, you're a flip-flopper. No, I'm not. That's my right. That's my right to say, hey, you were doing your job for you know, for as long as possible, and now I think what's best for me, my family, and this union are going this way now. And you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is to box yourself into,
I supported this guy, so I can't support this person
and
or
I can't.
whatever.
You know what? It takes a lot more guts, and I've said it before. I voted for Jim Hoffa in the past.
Yeah.
That was who I thought was best. I voted for certain leaders in the past. But it takes a lot more guts to stand up and say, hey, guess what? It's time to go this way now.
Yeah.
Rather than sit there blindly and say, I'll just keep going.
Directions change, climates change. You know, for me, I really do feel like the labor climate is changing.
But the loyalty
Corporate
to
climate is
but the
changing.
loyalty to their organization shouldn't ever change.
It shouldn't. Yeah, you're right. So, you know, we've been talking a lot of serious stuff. Just an ode to our previous guest. I kind of want to ask a fun question, but what kind of music are you guys into? Let's hear it.
You guys don't even want to listen.
Here we
Yeah. You're right. I'll take the question, Eric.
Okay. I mean, there's not a day that, you know, people that know me pretty well make fun of me because I can listen to anything. The only two real things I can't listen to are like hardcore, like I'm talking head banging heavy metal, because it just makes me feel like, you know, jumping off the cliff because it's just so crazy, or you know, real underground rap, because most of the time I can't.
You don't like
really,
the songs from prison?
yeah, you know what I mean? But I mean, I'll be honest
X-rated.
with you, I mean, people laugh because I mean, I listen to oldies. I don't know Spanish, but I listen to Spanish music.
Oh, look at you.
I listen to rap. I listen to, dude, love Taylor Swift, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen him in his truck.
Oh, dude,
Fucking
yeah.
rocking
I'm
out
a
to
What about the
Taylor Swift.
Cindy Lauper sticker
dude,
you have on your truck?
No, I'm not joking, dude. I tell my friends all the time, you know, dude, if I could go see Cindy Lauper in a heartbeat, I'd go see Cindy Lauper. Bon Jovi in a heartbeat, dude. Celine Dion, let's do this, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I definitely
Titanic.
would.
Here we go.
Oh,
He's gonna act it out.
in a heartbeat, and this is no joke. Me and my wife have literally went to orchestras and
I actually
and
like classical
symphonies,
music.
Yeah,
and I sat
classical
down
music's cool.
and chilled out and sit down with it. But I'll listen to everything.
What about you, Vic?
Damn, he covered everything. I was going to listen to Cindy Lauper on my way home after. No, I'm kidding. Honestly, it's pretty broad. My place band is pretty bad. I broad it. But I still. It's a funny because it's a connection. Like I'm outside working on my truck or my classic truck that I do with my son on the side
Oldies.
too. You know, my son's a big oldies freak. I worked for KRLA, which is in LA. Everybody knows oldies is the old 1110 AM station that I work for.
Angel Baby.
There you go. Yeah. So
Someone needed to sing. Mark sang Beastie Boys last week. Or no, Mark sang Madonna last week.
Madonna, that's right. But one thing that I just it's a go-to after we hear everything we want to hear and we get it out of the system. But the go-to is always like the 90s rap.
Okay. Favorite group band?
Tupac.
Eric?
I was a big Tupac fan.
Favorite. Narrow it down, bro. You gotta narrow it down.
Flavor Flav.
Dude, I can't. Rap group or
I just
in the whole general.
General, I mean, I can't even pick one because
what's your go-to? You got to say if you hit play on a
go-to?
song right now, which one it'll be, and it'll be your last song. Which one would it be?
If I had to listen to a song, it would probably be The Animals, House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah, I love that song. That's awesome.
House
That's
of the
a cool
Rising
song.
Sun. That would be my song right there.
All right.
'Cause it
You know,
makes me
I
wanna
like
do bad
country a
things.
lot
Sing it.
too.
It makes me wanna,
Sing it.
It makes me want to do bad things when I listen to that song.
I'll listen to country music. You know, my son's like, "Oh, no, Dad, nobody wants to listen to that." But I like country music.
I listen
old
to country too, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabby
All right.
Travis.
Yeah, but your country is like Taylor Swift.
Oh, she sings good, dude. Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera.
There you go. There you go.
So
In sync,
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys.
So we're coming towards the ends of the show, but I kind of wanted to round it out with the closing statement from Vic. So how would you like to close this out? What do you have for us? What's going on?
We're getting you out of your comfort zone. We're
Yeah.
going to fight like hell to protect what we got and fight like hell to get what we deserve.
There you go.
So it's a mission statement. We're not doing this alone. It's not about us. We're going into the fight shoulder to shoulder.
There you go, dude. All right, you heard it here. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We thank you for all the views. Share. We appreciate it. I hope we have a lot of 396 members on today. And keep tuning in. We're going to be in here every week, every Friday. Episodes drop. Obviously, it's not Friday now. We usually shoot a week before, but every Friday episodes drop. We're going to have a lot of guests. We're going to get different barns. We might be a little UPS heavy. I get it. You know, I came out of UPS. Sawas came out of UPS. George, who is not here today, came out of UPS. But that being said, we cover a lot of barns, and we've had guys from Albertsons and CVS on, and we want more. So if you guys, have somebody that wants to get on, that's interested from a different barn, that's a Teamster, shoot it out. Share this with other union members so they can, be envious because they want to be Teamsters. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Share, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, Eric.